Welcome to the AEN network. I'm Celina Battig, and today I'm joined with Nikki Morgan. Nikki, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for having us up here at your home in Strathbogie.
You're more than welcome.
So firstly, we'd like to thank our sponsors of the AEN channel, which are Pride's Easy Feed and Iconoclast Support Boots. So thank you so much for your support of not just our channel, but also our network. Nikki, you've had a long time involvement in the cutting industry. You're also, you and your husband Guy also create custom-made leather products, and you guys are also SweetPro distributors for the Victorian area. But tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Tasmania on the northwest or north coast, in a little town called Moriarty.
Yeah.
With mum and dad, they had a dairy farm we were like third generation cropping farm and a small quarter horse stud.
Yeah.
And,
Very good.
Yeah.
So had your family always been involved with horses?
I don't believe so. Like my grandfather ran a bakery and mum tells stories of, begging to have a pony, and dad tells stories of having a little pony that he used to go fishing on and ferreting and things like that. But there was no long time passion of horses in grandparents. So
Yeah.
I guess they were first generation of it.
So you're involved with horses as a child. What were some of the disciplines that you were involved with?
Well, I think because mum and dad had a quarter horse stud, as such, very heavy into the Western industry, Western pleasure, cutting, halter horses, things like that, which I guess back then too, the quarter horse did all those events, whereas now it's become so individualised. But I just did everything. Like I just remember every waking minute being with a horse and nothing else. And if there was a spare moment outside the Western discipline, I tried to get to a pony club rally, but they clashed. Or I did a little bit of hacking, a little bit of dressage, a little bit of show jumping, but they always clashed with an AQHA event, a state champs or something like that. So we did one horse, we did pleasure and cutting and trail and halter and showmanship and horsemanship and everything on. Yeah. And then as I hit senior youth ranks, I changed horses all the way up towards I hit the end of youth ranks, and I actually moved from Tassie to Victoria when I was 17 and did the Youth World Cup with the AQHA in Italy at that point. I think that was year 2000. So it just a lot. Like there was nothing that didn't have equine in it that I didn't love.
Yeah.
So.
And what was that experience like, being able to go over to Italy and compete in the Youth World Cup?
It was awesome. Yeah. It was, I think, especially the fact that it was in Italy, I thought was very cool, because I think a lot of people in our industry end up going to the States, or there's that American influence because it is obviously started in America. But Italy, the experience of taking a team of kids, the experience of jumping on, I think there was 6 horses in our team. We had to show every one of them at least once. And, to come together as a team, jump on different horses, share experiences. We had a coach and a manager, and just everything that goes along with that is amazing.
Yeah, it's such a great concept that the AQHA runs something like that for kids, because children are all the kids in those sports are the future of it. So if you set it up right, then, and they get those great experiences, it's going to flow on. Yeah, and it's a little bit different now than 2000, I guess, 20 years on, but the process of even, setting yourself up to nominate for the team and, making sure you fundraise and you get yourself out there and you put yourself into good experiences and, get great advice as far as coach advice and life advice. Yeah. It all interconnects and is amazing. So you started off in the quarter horse world and then moved more into cutting. What got you involved in cutting?
Well, Dad always had a Futurity horse as a kid, and I remember always coming across on the boat and doing Futurity every couple of years and being the one to run around the arena on the outside and cause mischief. But when I moved from Tasmania to Victoria, I actually got a job for Chance Lodge, and they had cutting horses and Western performance horses. And in turn, getting to go around the shows with them, ride young horses with them. They all were always influenced by America, and I ended up meeting my partner at that same time, who was working for trainers, and it just eventually headed that way. And it's something that I don't think there's anything like it, like to educate a horse for so long, but then also they have to think on their own. To have so much trainability, but then to have so much stock sense is a huge thing that I just admire so much.
Yeah. And you and Guy went over and spent some time in the States, didn't you?
Yeah, in 2004 we went and worked over there under trainers. I actually worked under a couple of cutting trainers and then went on to work as an assistant trainer in the Western Pleasure, Western Riding side of it. And he went straight into cutting training. So I still always dabbled back and forth a little bit, I guess. But we did that. We did that for not quite a year, and we came home, and then we ended up doing a little bit of work. He trained cutting horses, I trained pleasure horses, and we did that out of South Gippsland. Yeah. And then we ended up going and working on a movie.
Oh, wow.
And we pretty much turned all the horses out, and I guess didn't train as a sport training, but worked with horses on a movie. And then we eventually came back into it as well. And it was probably after the movie and buying our place and setting it up to train out of that then we really were full-fledged on our own and going pretty strong.
Oh, that's cool. And what movie did you work on?
A movie called Australia.
Wow.
So it kept us out of trouble for
good.
nearly 12 months. About 9-10 months we were on that.
That would have been such an exciting experience. How did you get involved with that?
Through a trainer that Guy worked for, Mr. Craig Emerton. He asked us to be on it with him with a great bunch of people. Yeah. And there was about 13 on our crew. Yeah. And we just had a ball. We got to see a lot of Australia and did it while we worked. So
and what was your role in that like?
I was Guy was set up as a trainer and I was set up as an assistant. They classed us as a wrangler, I guess we pretty much were there. I actually did a lot of my hairdressing work there as well.
Wow.
We did a lot of false hair extensions and dyeing of like the pony that was supposed to be a paint pony started out grey, and we did a lot of that too. Yeah. So we just sourced all our knowledge from every aspect to make what we needed to make work.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been such an amazing experience.
Yeah, it was.
So obviously, through your lifetime of having horses, you would have had some pretty amazing horses through your life. What were some of the ones that have really stuck with you?
Yeah, there's so many, but I think the first amazing one is the first horse that is like your best friend. And I had a mare that my parents bred and trained and owned. She was called Miss Sandock. She was by Celina, and she just did absolutely everything. Like I remember, I think Dad might have taken her to the Derbies. She went to the Nationals and did the pleasure at the Nationals as a 3-year-old, and they sold her and she went barrel racing, and then we brought her back, and then she became our youth horse, and I pleasured and hunted her and learnt to lead change on her, and she just was, to me, the typical quarter horse that is just so user-friendly and trainable. I think that's why I just love quarter horses so much. But we had her for a long time, and she was amazing. And then I think the pinnacle horse that I think we're all lucky to have is our stallion. He's called This Cat's Destiny, and he's a WR. This Cat's smart. Yeah. He's out of a mare called Colonel's Destiny. Yeah. She's a Hall of Famer, and he just never put a foot wrong, and he had every excuse. Like he nearly lost his eye as a baby, and he's like 20 to 30% vision in one eye.
Wow.
And 10 days out from the Futurity, he damages his fetlock in the paddock and has a bleed into the joint.
Oh my goodness.
And our great vet, Stacey McGregor, she's like, well, can we just spell him? And we said, yep, we'll just spell him until we show. So we turn him out and we bring him in the day before we show.
Yeah.
And he wins both go-rounds, the limited and the non-pro, for me. Yeah. And it just was the craziest ride because even leading up to that, I didn't want to pay the entries because I didn't want to waste the money because it was a new business.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law paid the entries 2 weeks out.
Yeah.
You know, and he keeps doing that even now.
Yeah.
Like he's now producing foals every year for us, and they just go and win aged events every year, and we just can't believe we've got him.
Yeah.
You know, and I think he's one in a million for us.
And so obviously through your riding career you've had some amazing wins. Tell us about some of them.
The biggest one, I guess, especially in the cutting industry, the pinnacle of that was winning the non-pro futurity, and not just winning it, but to win it. I remember the first go round, a good friend of ours, Johnny Williams, went to me. Just try and get shown, because up until that point I'd won like $400.
Oh wow!
And I come out of the first go round, and John's like, I didn't say win the go round, I just said get shown.
Yeah.
And then I walk away from that show and I've won like $28,000.
Wow.
You know, and that's such a cool thing that the NCHA can do, is to offer that.
Yeah.
You know, so that was huge for me. And then that was in 2011.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I went to the Vic Futurity. I'd had my second child 3-4 months prior to that, and we'd had a little bit of a rocky trip. And we come into the Vic Futurity, and I've got 2 of his progeny, and I win the Classic, and I get second in the Futurity.
Wow.
And it was really probably another big moment.
Yeah, especially from a horse, you know, the progeny from a horse that you've, you know, trained
that's
and
huge.
have as a colt. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, to breed them by him, and for Guy to train them, and I can just step on them and then go show them.
Yeah.
You know, it says so much for the stallion. It says so much for my husband. And, you know, and I just felt so lucky to even be at that show.
Yeah.
Let alone to come away with the success from that show. It was huge.
Yeah. And you've also you were inducted into the NCHA Hall of Fame as well. So when was that? Back in...
That was 2015. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, no, 2017.
Yeah.
Sorry. And a big part of that was because of what our stallion won for me.
Yeah.
And then another big part of it is I came back and jumped on his full sister and got reserve in the Classic.
Oh, wow.
And that was obviously another, because the Hall of Fame is a finance level. Like you have to win a set amount of money to make the Hall of Fame. So it was nearly all won on progeny out of Colonel's Destiny.
Yeah.
Which is sort of cool too.
Just,
but,
you know, takes it back to that, you know, having a good mare line is how important that is.
And that my parents own her.
Yeah,
and
it's really
just
special.
the family connection and the, you know, depth of bloodline in it. And makes it really special. But, yeah, that was in 2017.
So, Nikki, you're also a judge in the cutting industry. What got you into judging in the first place?
I actually started because after winning the non-pro futurity, I wanted to know how to be better. Yeah. And I think you've just got to keep learning no matter how much you know. I think the more we know, the more we realise what we don't know. Yeah. So I actually went to a seminar, and I think that was held by Russell McCord, who was the director of judging in America. Yeah. And it was the best seminar to go to because it was so professional, it was so well done, and it just gave me so much drive to know more. Yeah. And I also just love judging. I did a lot of judging when I was a kid. Coming up, the AQHA had a great, they have a youth judging, you know, to teach kids how to judge. And even in the dairy Holstein industry, we used to do a lot of junior judging. Yeah. Again, teaching you what to look for when you're showing. So one side of it was to learn how to show better, and the other side of it is to learn how to judge better as I kept going. And I sit as many seminars as I possibly can. Yeah. I've judged the futurity in the finals and some smaller futurities and BI, and to judge the big futurity for 14 days was amazing. Yeah. It was a really, really good learning experience as well. Yeah.
It's quite an endurance test, isn't it?
It is. There's some big days. Yeah. And I'm very adamant that I want to be 100% right. Yeah. And I know the human element can't create 100% perfection.
Yeah.
But I really do want that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I really want to be there to make sure it's right for the competitor because I am a competitor, so I know how it feels. So I think that's a really good element to it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty big endurance. Some of those 16-hour days.
They're big days.
Big days and big concentration. And but on the flip side, I think my days are big. But when the last cow is cut, I'm done. And I know there's a lot of people after being a trainer's wife and a competitor.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of hours.
Away and
they're up hours before we're up and hours after.
Yeah.
So,
It's big. So obviously, Nikki, you, as you just said, you've judged a lot of those bigger events and everything. So you've seen, and then also smaller events as well. Through your judging career, what are some of the things that you feel that riders do need to continue to improve on?
Probably a big thing is they need to just come show their horse.
Yeah.
Just be confident.
Yeah.
Don't get too caught up in. I see some people make some amazing cuts when they've actually realised that they don't need to pick a particular beast and have changed their mind. And other people wreck some amazing runs by being so adamant on picking one cow.
Yeah.
So it's just being open-minded in that cut and just being confident coming and showing. I think also a big thing I see is people that actually don't know the rules or how they're being judged and making simple mistakes or little mistakes that can knock them a point or two when they don't need to make them. They just don't know.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be really good for a lot of competitors to know the rules a lot better.
Yeah.
Sit some judging seminars. It doesn't mean you have to sit your ticket.
Yeah.
Just knowing why you're being judged or how you're being judged.
Yeah.
And a thing my grandfather said to me, and it's always stuck true to me, is we go to a show to be judged by one person.
Yeah.
And then we need to accept that and move on.
Yeah.
But also not change our end goal. The person that we're being judged on shouldn't change the goal that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of people go, I want to know how the judges are going to judge. And I get the element of that. But we can't impress everyone. We just, if we know the rules, we'll be judged right and we'll do well.
Yeah.
So I think there's that element to it too.
Yeah.
Another thing I think is a great way to learn is to be able to go back and watch reruns of yourself and not be too hard on yourself, but just be accurate on what's on the video.
Yeah.
Nothing speaks truer than those videos. We can see everything. They're so amazing. So we can go back and we can have somebody go through it with us or be able to go through it by ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really great tool that we didn't have 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it's really stepped the mark up for what we've got.
That's certainly the benefit of every, NCHA affiliated show that has to, those runs have to be, filmed. So, and then with, obviously with what I do with the live streaming and everything, we've got all those runs that have been live streamed up on our website, and people can go back and watch them whenever they want. So they can watch them as much as they want.
Yeah.
So
and so quick too.
Yeah,
you can go through a go round or a run that day, and you can come back onto your feed and you can watch that replay.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you need to tweak your showing, or if you feel that you can't quite pick up on your horse being a little out of position, or you want your trainer to go through it with you.
Yeah.
to have it that quick and so clear and easy access is amazing.
That's great. The good things with technology these days, I suppose.
We're so lucky.
Yeah. So obviously being a member of the NCHA, Nikki, and also being in the industry for a while now, what are some areas of the industry that you would like to see a bit more further developed?
That's a good question. Also a hard one, because I guess to me there's so many subsections of the NCHA that you could go into. I would like to see the members feel like they're being heard and looked after a little bit more. But then on the flip side, we as the NCHA, our membership is the NCHA.
Yeah.
So we also need to participate as much as we can and as well as we can to better our industry.
Yeah.
So I guess it goes both ways on that element.
Yeah.
I feel that I would like to see the rule book held a little bit more accountable for.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got a great sport with a great rule book.
Yeah.
And I think if we could hold that to ransom a little bit more, it would create some consistency and some continuity, and it wouldn't matter who you were.
Yeah.
So I think that would be really good. I feel that the rule book's also there to look after us as competitors and judges, as committee members, and also after our animals and our health and well-being. So across the board in associations, I think that's really important. I'd also like to see the judging take on even some youth judging. I know that's an element change, but also I think that sometimes some of the issues we run into with showing and people not understanding or people's frustrations is also through lack of the rules and lack of what should happen.
Yeah.
But I think if we taught that in a younger generation and as they came up through our association, there'd be a lot better understanding of a lot of different levels. Yeah. And I'd really like that to even come into play with the NCHA.
Yeah, and that would be such a great thing, because you do see other associations that are starting to develop that as well, with or have already had that in place with that youth judging or programs for youth, and not just showing their horses, but actually, in the future we are going to need more judges, because you're not going to be around forever, so we always constantly need that younger generation of judges coming up and coming through and judging.
And I know the affiliates quite often find it hard because they'll go to us judges to judge and they'll be competing. So if we can keep developing those younger generation and have them coming up through those ranks still strongly, because I think we've got some great judges now. But a lot of our good judges are competitors, so there is that balance.
They can't always judge.
No.
And the thing is, if you start them, I suppose it's the same as training a horse. If you start them early, they're going to be even better judges when they're older. And
I was blessed. Like, as I've come up through the ranks, I've had Russell McCord, Andy Adams. I've had my stepfather, Fred Johnson. I've had Phil Webb, who's been a great support. I've had my own self in the sense that I'm very particular of what I'm looking at. I want a cow horse. I want them to be soft and happy about the job. I want the riders to have feel for their stock. But I also want someone to come out and show.
That's it.
And that's, to me, that's what the cutting competition should be about.
So, Nikki, we mentioned before that you and Guy have a custom leatherwork business. Tell us a little bit about this. How did you get into it to start with?
It was something I sort of fell into. I feel really lucky for it, actually. But my husband always did, some halters and some training equipment, some bridles, some rings, things like that. And he got left, I think it was his uncle or great uncle, some leather tools, stamps, knives, that sort of stuff. And also has bought some stuff over the time, and he always did that, and we had that stuff. And then after coming back from America, there were some things that we wanted that we couldn't get out here. Or we thought we may as well just make it ourselves. I'm sure we can do that. So we just started making our own gear. And I guess on a financial side, with the training, it was easier to make it and more affordable than to try and buy it. So we did that, and we were getting around, and people would ask, where do you get the bridle? Where do you get the training equipment? And even into, you know, the first couple of sets of chaps we made for ourselves. And there wasn't a lot of people making that style of chap out here at that stage, because they were a zipper up straight chap. And I guess just the role of fashion within chaps. So they ask you, oh, would you mind making me a pair? So you say yes, and then one thing led to another. And then I remember even when I started carving, because I've quite often heard, if you can't draw it, don't carve it. And I always did a lot of pencil drawing, a lot of black and white pencil portraiture. And Guy took an order one day for a set of chaps with a set of tooled tops. And I'd never tooled a set of...
darn.
I was like, oh, my God. And I mean, the anxiety was huge. And I just watched hours, because I'm all self-taught. Like, I've had some influence of some really great people. I spent, you know, I had some friends hook me up with Joey Jamison when I went to the States a couple of years ago, and he's a big role model for me. What him and Connie do in that shop are amazing. So that's how we just got into it. And I guess because we weren't taught to do a couple of items in a particular way, our mindset is also that nothing's off limits. Like, we can make anything.
Just give it a go.
Carve anything. We just literally give it a crack. But the sky is the limit.
So obviously, with all these amazing things that you make, what is your favourite product to make?
I do really enjoy the artistic side. I haven't got a particular product that I don't think is, like, I wouldn't say I like doing chaps over belts. Or, you know, tooling some spur straps over the belts. Where I like doing something new. And I guess whenever you're doing something new, it's a bit more interesting outside the box. And that probably fills my cup a little bit more. So something new, or something when I'm making a set of chaps that's different on the chaps and outside the box on that. Because chaps is a huge part of what I personally do over the pair of us. But definitely it's just this outside the box and new things. Like now we do chaps, belts, we do the standard training equipment. We've done some beautiful wedding leather bonding photo albums and some bags and things like that. And we've got something in the pipeline at the minute that could be a new subsection off Morgie's Custom Tack, which is a bit exciting. It is. It's with a really good friend of mine that I have a lot of respect for her as a business person. And so you'll have to watch this space.
So where can we find some of your products, Nikki?
We have our Facebook site, which is under Morgie's Custom Tack. We have a website. It's www.morgies1.com. It has email contacts, a great list of our products and photos and everything you need to know. And you can always send us a message as well.
So, Nick, you are also a rep for SweetPro Australia. What's your involvement with the company and what is your role in it?
I've been a part of SweetPro Australia it's coming up 3 years in August, and I actually used the product for nearly 2 years before I jumped on board, and I just loved it so much I wanted to be part of the team. I cover everything from just if anything you need to know, if you want any information on the product, you know, some ideas of how to use it, where to buy it from, and then down to handling the logistics of getting the product around the state, setting up new stores, new dealers, and all that entails within Victoria.
So tell us about some of the products that SweetPro has to offer and the benefits that it has for stock.
Well, SweetPro Australia are a feed supplement company, and the products are a vitamin, mineral and digestive aid. And they're different to anything on the market in the fact they're a new science to feeding livestock. We have beef, cattle and sheep lick blocks and feed toppers. They have no starch, no sugar, which is really good for the equine market because you've got horses like Cushions horses that tie up, any element that a non-molasses block you can't feed, but these you can.
Yeah.
And because they've also got a digestive aid, they're so important for the internal health of the animal.
Yeah.
No urea, no molasses, which we just touched on, but creating an overall healthier animal so they can perform at the peak. So whether you're actually competing on a horse, whether you're needing greater gains with your stock, whether you're needing, better calves, better milking capacity, improved fertility, and just overall health.
And where can we find out some more information about these products?
SweetPro have a website, www.sweetpro.com.au.
Yep.
They also have a Facebook page, SweetPro Australia. All the information as far as scientific breakdown, analysis of the product, and other stuff you will need will be on that website. And they also have the contact details for each state distributor. So if you just want to touch base with a person and just want a quick overall, or you just rather talk to a person, then that information's there.
Have a chat.
Have a chat.
Yeah, very good. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining me on the couch today.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much, guys, for viewing, reading, listening to today's episode. You can catch all of this on the Australian Equine Network website, which is www.australianequinenetwork.com.au. And we'll have more and more episodes to come. Again, thank you, and see you next time.